The noise from the nearby Danfo Park mixed with gospel music blaring from Mama Ifeoma's shop speakers. Life in Ajagunal was loud, gritty, and full of hustle, but for Isioma Ada, it had become painfully repetitive. Every day was the same. Braid hair, eat late, count small naira notes, sleep hungry sometimes. At 22, she felt like time was mocking her dreams. That morning, as she finished knotting the last of a customer's Ghana weaving, a sleek, black G-Wagon pulled up outside her salon stall like a UFO landing in a market. People stopped. Phones came out. The car's windows were tinted, its plates customized, the vintage. Everyone whispered, "Na celebrity? Abi na politician wife." But it wasn't a celebrity. Out stepped Madame Veronica Vero Olatunji, a woman whose name stirred admiration and fear in equal measure. She was wrapped in silk from head to toe, her dark skin flawless under the Lagos sun. Gold bangles jingled as she approached Isioma's stall like a queen inspecting a peasant village. "You're the one that made those Instagram braids for that girl. Blessing, right?" she asked, her voice laced with quiet authority. Isioma's eyes widened. "Yes, Ma, I did." "You have gifted hands," Madame Vero said, scanning her. "And a beautiful face. You shouldn't be wasting your life here. You deserve more." It felt like the heavens opened. For years, Isioma had dreamt of being discovered. Not just for hairstyling, but for her poise, her glow, her secret longing to escape Ajagunal. Madame Vero slid a velvet card into her palm. Vero Modeling and International Image Management Agency. Redefining African beauty for the world. We're recruiting a few select ladies for luxury international campaigns. Paris, Milan, Cape Town, even Istanbul. All expenses paid. But it's exclusive. We don't just pick anyone. Isioma's breath caught. "You mean like modeling? Modeling, branding, hostessing. Luxury living. The kind of money that'll make your landlord call you madam, and your ex cry." Vero winked. Isioma glanced around. Ajagunal's dust, sweat, and diesel-smelling gutters, and then back at the woman. "What's the catch?" she asked hesitantly. "No catch," Vero replied smoothly. "Just obedience and loyalty. I train you, fly you out, and change your life. We select based on potential, not background. You're either ready or you're not." Her mind raced. Her sick mum. The rent debt. The promise she made to herself to leave the street before 25. "I'm ready," Isioma whispered. "Good." Madame Vero smiled. "You leave on Monday. We'll pick you up at 6 a.m. sharp. Don't tell anyone who doesn't need to know." As the G-Wagon drove off, Isioma stared at the card like it was a passport to a new life. She didn't notice how Mama Ifeoma had stopped singing and was watching her from behind the stall curtain, lips pursed in worry. She had no idea that the promise of luxury was the beginning of a trap. The sun was dipping into the Lagos lagoon as the tinted van swerved through the elite gates of Banana Island. To Isioma, it was like entering a different Nigeria. Quiet streets lined with palm trees, glass mansions with infinity pools, and security guards who actually smiled. She had never seen so much wealth concentrated in one place. "Nah, here big people day, really day live, oh," she whispered. Inside the van were 5 other girls. Tenny, tall and feisty, a former video vixen from Ilorin. Rita, soft-spoken, from Wari, with a dancer's grace. Z, the Instagram beauty influencer, who rarely spoke but observed everything. Bisola, only 19, bubbly and naive, fresh out of secondary school in Osogbo. Nancy, the oldest at 25, who claimed to have worked with people in government. The girls had met at the agency's office earlier that day, a posh suite in Lekki Phase 1. They had signed contracts they barely read, been given new phones, and instructed not to bring any old clothing or tell family where they were going. "We'll take care of everything. Your old life is over," the agent had said with a grin. Now they had arrived. The mansion loomed like a modern palace, white marble exterior, gold-plated gate, silent guards in tailored black. They were ushered in with smiles and wine. A housekeeper gave each of them a robe and sandals. There were spa rooms, a chandelier that looked like dripping diamonds, and smart speakers playing soft jazz. Madame Vero appeared at the top of a glass staircase, wearing a floor-length silk kimono and holding a glass of red wine. "Welcome to the House of V," she said, smiling like a queen welcoming her daughters. "From this moment forward, you are no longer average Nigerian girls. You are luxury. The world will beg to touch you." The girls cheered half-heartedly, but Isioma noticed how heavily guarded the compound was. She also noticed something else: no mirrors. None in the bathroom. None in the hallways. Even their bedrooms had mirrored frames with blacked-out glass.
"Why?"
"Mirrors distract you," one of the attendants said when she asked. "You are here to look forward, not back." That night, they were given new phones with blocked SIMs and designer pajamas. Dinner was served by quiet staff in gloves. Wine flowed. A woman named Miss Jade, cold-eyed and sharp-tongued, handled orientation. She spoke like a principal at a finishing school, but with a strange undertone of control. "There will be no calls outside," she said. "We monitor everything for your protection. You will receive guests soon. Important men. High-paying clients. You are not prostitutes. You are premium companions. You do not sell your body. You sell the fantasy." Isioma's heart skipped. This wasn't what she signed up for. She looked at the others. Tenny's jaw was tight, Z's expression unreadable, Bisola looked confused. "But this is not modeling," Isioma spoke up. Miss Jade gave her a long look. "Darling, welcome to the world's oldest luxury brand. You don't model in Paris without first being seen in Lagos." That night, as Isioma lay on a memory foam bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, she couldn't sleep. The ceiling light was dim, but her thoughts were loud. She had left Ajagunal to chase a dream. But now, she wasn't sure what she was chasing anymore, or what was chasing her. 2 days had passed in the House of V, but to Isioma, it felt like 2 months of quiet suffocation wrapped in satin. The girls were now under strict routine. Morning yoga by the poolside. Skin care and body toning sessions with imported therapists. Elocution lessons. You must sound like soft velvet, not Oshidi Market. And nightly hosting training, which increasingly felt like rehearsals for something sinister. Madame Vero remained the ever-smiling goddess of the house, appearing only during dinner, always in rich fabrics and always reminding them that your beauty is your passport. Your silence is your power. But behind that luxury was control. Their phones were monitored, and every attempt to contact the outside world resulted in a knock on the door for Miss Jade, who now wielded authority like a warden in heels. On Wednesday night, the air turned cold in a different way. Isioma had just stepped out of a lavender-scented bath when a maid brought her a glittering silver dress. "Madam Say, make you wear this. You get VIP guest tonight." Her heart pounded. "Guest?"
"Yes."
"Important man from Abuja." Isioma didn't respond. Instead, she walked over to Z's room and knocked lightly. Z opened after a pause, her face bare and serious. "I have a guest tonight," Isioma whispered. Z nodded. "We all will, eventually. They're testing you." "Testing us for what?" Isioma hissed. "To see if you'll bend or break," Z said simply. "I refused once. They starved me for 2 days and sent 2 men the next night. Don't try to fight unless you're ready." Isioma swallowed her rising panic. Later that night, dressed in silver and heels she didn't choose, Isioma was escorted to a side lounge lit by blue LED strips and candles. The man was already there, middle-aged, gold rings on every finger, eyes hungry behind his designer shades. He didn't waste time. "You're finer than your pictures. Good investment, Madame Vero." He grinned. "Come sit." Isioma hesitated. She could smell the whiskey on him. Then it happened fast. He lunged forward, grabbed her arm, tried to pull her closer. She yanked back instinctively. He became aggressive. "You day form virgin? You think say I come here to do Bible study." He reached into his jacket, not for a gun, but it didn't matter. In that moment, instinct took over. She grabbed the wine bottle on the table, smashed it against his face. He roared in pain, stumbled backward, and knocked his head on the corner of the glass table. A sickening sound. Then silence.
Welcome to Moonlit Stories, where moonlight meets myth. Love timeless tales? Then hit like, subscribe, and join the circle. Every story begins with you.
Isioma froze. Her chest heaved. Blood pooled beneath his head. He wasn't moving. She took a step forward. "Sir?" No response. "Oh, God. Jesus, what have I done?" She touched his neck, no pulse. Her hand trembled violently. Her breath came in sharp gasps. "I just killed someone." She staggered back, panic flooding every nerve. The trap was now a coffin. Minutes later, Isioma backed into the corner of the lounge, her mind spiraling. The stranger's body lay sprawled on the cream carpet like a stain she couldn't scrub from her memory. His blood had crept under the table legs and was now leaking toward her silver heels. Her hands, her robe, even her wrist shimmered with crimson dots under the lounge's blue lights. "No, no, no. This can't be happening," she whispered, crouching. "I just came here to model, not murder somebody." But it wasn't murder, was it? It was self-defense. She was attacked. He lunged first. Yet no one in this house would care. She could already imagine how Madame Vero would twist the story. Ungrateful village girl kills important client, tries to ruin everything. Her stomach turned. A soft knock echoed from the door. "Miss Isioma, are you decent?" A male voice called. One of the butlers. "Or worse, Miss Jade." Isioma jumped up. Yes, I'm coming," she called out, wiping her hands with the hem of her dress, then instantly regretted it. The blood streaked across the glittering fabric like a warning. There was no time. She darted toward the bathroom. The man's body was heavy. Too heavy. She grunted and dragged him inch by inch across the polished floor, whispering apologies with every tug. "I didn't want this. I didn't want this. I'm sorry." Once inside, she locked the door and collapsed beside the bathtub. The scent of blood and cologne mixed in the air, making her nauseous. She rushed out, grabbed a mop from the hallway closet, and began wiping the blood trail with trembling hands. Another knock, this time louder, firmer. "Open this door. Now." Miss Jade. Isioma poured water on her body, grabbed a towel, and wrapped herself like she had just finished showering. She opened the door, feigning annoyance. "You're disturbing me," she said sharply. "What is it?" Miss Jade's eyes scanned the room behind her. "Your client hasn't come out. We've been waiting to see him off. It's almost midnight." Isioma looked tired, frustrated. "He left through the garden door. Said he didn't want to be seen. Asked for privacy." Jade's cold eyes narrowed. "That's so?" "Yes," Isioma snapped. "Or do you watch every man that leaves this house?" Miss Jade smiled tightly, then leaned in. "You'd better pray you're telling the truth, Isioma. Madame Vero does not tolerate broken trust." She turned and walked off. As soon as the door clicked shut, Isioma fell to her knees, shaking. From the shadows of the hallway, Chica, the silent housekeeper, emerged. "I saw what happened," she whispered. Isioma's eyes widened. "Please, I didn't mean to. I was protecting myself." "I believe you," Chica said, her voice low and urgent. "That's why I came to help." Together, they locked the bathroom door. Chica gave her bleach, gloves, towels, everything she needed. "I've cleaned worse," she whispered grimly. "This house has secrets. You're not the first." That sentence hit Isioma like a slap. "Not the first? What is this place really?" she asked. Chica looked at her and said, "This isn't a modeling agency. It's a golden prison. And the only way out is to escape before you're too valuable to release." Isioma swallowed hard. She didn't just need to escape now. She needed to take the others with her. Just past midnight. The marble floor still bore faint streaks, even after 2 rounds of bleach and scrubbing. Isioma's arms ached, her body trembling from exhaustion. Chica moved quickly and quietly, like someone who had cleaned death before. "We can't hide him for long," Chica whispered, wringing out a towel. "By sunrise, that smell will start." The guards do early patrols. If they check the guest list and don't find his name signed out, Madame Vera will notice. Isioma's eyes darted to the digital wall clock. 1:18 a.m. I need to leave this place tonight. You can't go alone, Chica replied. They'll track you down. And if they catch you, you'll wish the man had killed you instead. A gust of panic surged through Isioma again. Then what do I do? Chica leaned closer. Don't run yet. Wait till 3 a.m. That's when the guards sleep. I'll leave the service gate open. Take only what you need. And tell the others, the ones you trust. Isioma nodded. Tenny.
Z.
Rita, maybe Basola. She's young, but she'll follow. No phones, Chica warned. The minute you make a call, they'll trace it. There's a security tracker in the phones and in the van. What about you? Will you come with us? Isioma asked.
Chica paused.
I was born into this life. My sister tried to escape 10 years ago. They never found her. I'm not risking the same fate.
But you?
You still have the fire. Use it. She handed Isioma a small towel-wrapped object, a spare gate key. And this, she unwrapped it to reveal a SIM-less phone and a USB stick. That contains camera footage, proof of what this house really is. You'll need it when you reach safety. There was a knock at the main door again, this time softer. The night waiter. Isioma quickly dabbed cold water on her face, threw on her robe, and opened the door halfway. Ma, the madam says she hasn't seen your guest leave yet, the waiter mumbled. She says I should check again. He left, she said firmly, voice tired but calm. Through the back. Maybe go check with security. I don't know. The waiter blinked, unconvinced. Okay. She shut the door and immediately grabbed a small duffel bag, stuffing in the USB stick, a hoodie and flats from the laundry stash, some fruit and bottled water, the gate key from Chica, and a towel to wrap the hidden gun, the same one the man had tried to pull on her. At 2 a.m., she slipped into Tenny's room. Tenny was awake, sitting at the edge of her bed, as if she had been waiting. You heard? Isioma asked. Tenny nodded. The whole house can feel the tension. Something shifted tonight. Then let's shift with it, Isioma said. Meet at the pool service door at 2:45. Silent. Only the girls who can run. No second chances. They alerted Z, Rita, and a tearful Basola. At exactly 2:43 a.m., Isioma reached the door. She turned to find 4 silhouettes behind her. All here, she whispered. Let's go. As they crept past the hallway camera, blinded by Chica minutes earlier, they opened the gate and slipped into the night air. The luxury mansion of Banana Island faded behind them like a beautiful lie. And ahead, darkness waited, with only hope and desperation lighting their path. Just before 3 a.m., the streets of Banana Island were still. Not even the wind dared to whisper. The girls moved like shadows, clinging to hedges and skirting past mansions that glittered under moonlight but felt colder than prison walls. Isioma led the group, duffel bags strapped tight, the gate key now tucked safely in her bra. Tenny walked close behind, sharp-eyed and silent, ready to pounce if anything went wrong. Z and Rita moved in sync like trained dancers, while Basola held tightly to Z's hand, shivering despite the heat. When they reached the outer service gate, Isioma slipped the key into the padlock.
Click.
Freedom cracked open. Beyond the gate, they were no longer model recruits, they were fugitives. Down a back alley, behind the staff quarters and abandoned lots, sat a cream-colored agency van, the same one that brought them here. Its doors were unlocked, the keys tucked above the driver's visor, exactly where Chica said they'd be. Are we sure we can drive? Basola whispered. I can, Isioma replied. My father ran a Kiki garage. Taught me on rusty Peugeot taxis in Ajagunal. Tenny jumped into the front passenger seat. Then drive like your life depends on it, because it does. As the engine roared to life, lights flicked on in a nearby building. Go, 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 Rita shouted. Isioma slammed the gear into drive. The van lunged forward, tires skidding over gravel. They swerved past the side gate, and burst out onto Lekki Phase 1's back road, the kind mostly used by staff and delivery vans. Sirens didn't wail. No alarm blared. But they all felt it. The chase had already begun. By 4 a.m., they were heading towards Ijibuode, where forest paths branched into Ogun's borderlands. Isioma drove with one eye on the road and one on the rearview mirror. Suddenly, Tenny's phone buzzed. A blank message. Then another. A third. "What's that?" Isioma asked. Tenny's face went pale. Tracking texts. "These phones are hot." She opened the van door slightly and threw the phone out. The others followed. "Madame Vero's people are on our trail," Z muttered. As the van raced through the narrowing roads and deeper into bush territory, something ahead glittered under the moonlight, a roadblock. "Police," Rita whispered. "What do we do?" "We don't know who they work for," Tenny said. "Vero has big men in her pocket." Isioma gripped the wheel. "Hold on." With a scream of tires and a jolt, she swerved off-road, crashing through a weak barrier and into a dusty forest path. The van rattled violently, bouncing over rocks and roots, but kept moving. From behind, headlights appeared. "Madame Vero," Bisola cried. "She's coming." A second black van surged onto the same path. Gunmen inside opened fire. Bullets shattered tree branches above. Z grabbed a blanket and threw it over Bisola's head. "Get down." Tenny reached into Isioma's bag, felt the wrapped pistol, and passed it forward. "In case we need it." "I pray we don't," Isioma said. "But I'm not afraid to use it." They zigzagged through the forest, trying to lose their pursuers, but the path was too narrow, and the chasers knew this terrain well. Still, Isioma kept going, heart pounding like war drums, mud spraying into the night like blood. They weren't safe yet, but for the first time, they were choosing their own road. At 4:30 a.m., the forest roared with the sound of engines. Isioma's hands were blistered from gripping the steering wheel, her eyes burning from sweat and dust. The headlights behind them glowed like demon eyes. Madame Vero's van was closing in. Bullets hissed through the trees again. "Down," Tenny shouted, pulling Rita to the floor of the van as a bullet shattered the rear window. Glass sprayed like confetti, but no one screamed anymore. They were past fear. This was survival. "We need to lose them," Z yelled from the back. "I need more speed, and we're almost out of fuel," Isioma said through clenched teeth. "We can't make it to the expressway." They reached a fork in the bush path. To the left, a dirt track winding downhill. To the right, thick vegetation and a faint memory, Isioma's. "That day we came in, the driver stopped to refill fuel from the boot," she muttered. She hit the brakes hard. The van skidded into a clearing, dirt flying. "What are you doing?" Bisola panicked. Isioma jumped down, ran to the back of the van, flung open the boot, and there they were, 3 25-liter jerrycans of fuel, just like she remembered. "Yes," she cried. "They underestimated me." Z and Tenny rushed out to help. A funnel sat in the corner of the boot. Within minutes, they poured a full jerrycan into the tank. But time wasn't on their side. Tenny's eyes widened as she saw 2 beams of light slicing through the forest shadows behind them. "They're here." The girls scrambled back into the van. Isioma fired the engine. The vehicle roared like a wounded beast as they tore off down the left fork, tires kicking up stones and roots. Behind them, Madame Vero's voice barked orders to her men. "No survivors. If they reach Lagos and leak anything, it's over for me." The vans raced through thickets and narrow bridges made of rickety planks. A single wrong move, and the girls could fall into a ravine. But Isioma drove like someone who had been driving for her life since the day she was born. "Where did you learn this?" Z asked, clutching the seat. "Ajagunal," Isioma said with a smirk. "Try dodging Lasma, Danfo drivers, and potholes at the same time." Then suddenly, headlights ahead. A third van was approaching fast from the opposite direction. Madame Vero's husband. "Reinforcements. We're trapped," Bisola shouted. "No," Isioma whispered. "We're about to end this." She made a split-second decision. She veered sharply to the right, bursting through dense undergrowth into an unknown bush path. Branches scraped the sides. The van bounced like it would flip, but she didn't slow down. She didn't dare. Behind them, Madame Vero's van tried to follow. But the driver couldn't see what Isioma had seen. A ravine. And an approaching vehicle. Isioma yanked the wheel left at the last second. The van skidded to safety behind a thick cluster of trees. Behind them, the oncoming van couldn't stop in time and slammed directly into Madame Vero's vehicle with a deafening crash. Explosions of light and metal lit up the forest. Then silence. Smoke rose. Isioma looked around. Is everyone okay? Groans answered her. No one was bleeding. No one was broken. They were bruised, shaken, covered in dust, but alive. And the forest was finally quiet. Tenny exhaled slowly. You just ended their empire with one steering wheel. Isioma wasn't smiling. Her eyes were wet. We still need to make it home. Then let's go, she said. Before the forest decides to turn on us too. They climbed back in, still fugitives. But now, fugitives with a fighting chance. The rising sun bled orange across the treetops as the van crawled to a stop in a forgotten part of the forest. The trees were thicker now, branches twisted like crooked arms reaching down from the heavens. Isioma sat behind the wheel, eyes red from tears and dust. Engine dead again. We're out of fuel again, she whispered. This time, there were no extra jerrycans. No more hidden reserves. Just silence, sweat, and the awareness that if anyone else came after them, they had nothing left but prayers. They all got out and stood in the clearing, breathing the raw morning air. Bisola trembled, her voice small. Can we just hide in the van until someone comes? No, said Z firmly. Madame Vero might be dead, but if her husband survived, he won't stop. We need to move. But where? We don't know this area, said Rita. Tension cracked between them like dry wood. For the first time, Isioma felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her. The girls were looking at her, not just as the girl who drove them to freedom, but as the girl who might get them home. Tenny placed a hand on Isioma's shoulder. There's a clearing up ahead. I'll scout it. Z, come with me. The others stayed behind, huddled beneath the shade of an enormous Irako tree. Isioma slid down to the grass, pulled out the small pistol wrapped in a towel. She hadn't used it yet, but the morning wasn't over. Minutes later, Z returned, her eyes wild. They're coming. Madame Vero's husband survived. And he's not alone. He has a girl with him. One of us. Isioma's jaw tightened. Who? Rita. Z spat. She went out to pee earlier and never came back. She must have told him where we are. Tenny returned, panting. He's armed, and he's furious. In the distance, footsteps crushed twigs. Leaves rustled. A deep voice called out. Isioma.
Z. Tenny.
You think you can run from me? You think your little rebellion changes anything? They froze. He stepped into the clearing, Mr. Teo T. Vero, tall, muscle-bound, still bleeding from a cut above his eye. Behind him, Rita stood silently, tear-streaked, holding up her hands in surrender. A gun was pointed at her back. Drop that bag and come out, he shouted, or she dies. Isioma stood, shoulders straight, unafraid now. She walked slowly into the open, the pistol now behind her, hidden in the folds of her wrapper. We're not afraid of you anymore, she said, voice calm. You should be, he barked. He moved closer. But what he didn't know was, Isioma had learned something in the last 48 hours. Fear was a leash, and she had broken hers. When he was within 10 feet, she stepped forward. You know what your mistake was, she said. Teo sneered.
What?
You taught me to survive. She lifted the pistol in one swift motion and fired. The bullet struck his shoulder. He stumbled. The gun he held slipped. Tenny tackled him. Z grabbed Rita and pulled her away. Isioma stepped over him as he writhed in pain. You're not God, she said, looking him in the eye. You're not even a man. Rita sobbed. I'm sorry. I panicked. We'll talk later, Z snapped. Move now, cry later. They grabbed what little they had and ran. The sun was higher now, the sky fully awake. And for the first time in days, they saw a radio mast in the distance. A sign of civilization. A sign of home. The path ahead was dusty, narrow, and lined with tall elephant grass. Every step forward was a miracle. The girls were bruised, starved, and mentally drained, but they pressed on. Each footfall carried the weight of survival and the burning desire to never return to that cursed mansion again. As they neared the edge of the forest, the air changed. The humid musk of the woods gave way to the familiar scent of petrol and smoke. Civilization. A battered fuel station peeked through the haze. Just beyond it, a small junction town, the kind where yellow buses screamed and suya smoke danced in the morning light. "We're close," Z whispered. "I can feel it." Isioma nodded, her grip still tight on the pistol. Her hands ached, her soul even more so. They had made it out of the forest, but the war wasn't over. Behind them, no sounds, no pursuit, no engines, no footsteps. But the silence itself was suspicious. Tenny stopped walking. Wait. Everyone froze. A figure emerged from behind the trees. Madame Vero. She looked like a ghost, her silk robe torn, a gash on her forehead, and one heel missing. But her eyes? Still full of venom. She raised a gun with both hands. Blood stained her fingers. "You think you've won?" she snarled. "You think you've brought down a queen? I've built this empire for 20 years. Who are you to end it with one night of rebellion?" Isioma stepped forward. "We're the ones who escaped. We're the ones who lived. I'll kill all of you right now," Madame Vero said, trembling. "I'd rather see you dead than see you tell the world." She cocked the gun. But from the side road came the growl of a pickup truck, the local police. The officer riding shotgun leaned out, holding a megaphone. "Drop your weapon. You are surrounded." Madame Vero spun around, startled. Z kicked a stone at her leg, causing her to stumble. As she fell to one knee, Tenny charged forward, tackling her to the ground. The gun slipped into the dust. Within seconds, officers rushed in and restrained her. The girls collapsed on the road, weeping, not just from relief, but from every emotion they had locked away for days. The officer who seemed to be in charge looked at Isioma. "We received an anonymous tip with audio evidence. Trafficking, illegal detention, even murder." Isioma reached into her bag, pulled out the USB Chica had given her, and handed it to him. "Play that," she said. "You'll see everything." As the officers arrested Madame Vero and called for backup, another van pulled up, one that had been used to ferry girls across borders. Inside were 10 more young women, shivering and confused. Tenny climbed in and addressed them. "You're safe now. She won't hurt you anymore." Z wrapped her arms around Bisola, who hadn't spoken in hours but finally whispered, "Are we really going home?" "Yes," Isioma replied, smiling faintly. "This time, we're going home." 1 week later, the sun poured through the open windows of the rehabilitation center in GRA Ikeja, casting soft shadows on the tiled floor. The faint hum of traffic outside mixed with gospel music playing from a distant speaker. For the first time in what felt like forever, the girls weren't running. They weren't hiding. They were safe. Inside the cozy common room, Isioma, now dressed in a clean t-shirt and jeans, sat quietly on a bench, sipping warm tea. She stared out the window at the hibiscus bushes, swaying in the breeze. The days since their rescue had been a blur of interviews, police statements, and press inquiries. The footage on the USB Chica had made national news. The Banana Island queenpin they called Madame Vero, an elite predator exposed by the very girls she once controlled. Tenny walked in, hair now in short braids, her voice lighter. "You're quiet this morning." Isioma smiled faintly. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how we went from silk robes to sandals in a safe house. About how we survived. And what we're going to do with that survival." Tenny sat beside her. "I heard from Z. She got a call from an NGO in Abuja. They want us to share our story with young girls in schools, teach them how to spot danger, and trust their instincts." Isioma raised an eyebrow. Public speaking? That's a long way from running through the forest in blood-stained wrappers. It's a long way from Ajagunal too, Tenny replied with a smirk. They shared a laugh, something that had become easier now. Just then, Bisola came skipping down the hallway, her energy restored, her hair tied in colorful ribbons. Guess what? My mum called. She's coming to Lagos next week. I told her everything. She cried, but she's proud of me for fighting. Isioma's eyes welled up. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. A few hours later, a social worker escorted them outside. A camera crew was setting up for a press conference under a white tent. Are you ready? She asked Isioma. Isioma looked at her friends. Tenny, Z, Bisola, Rita, now recovering emotionally, and the other rescued girls. They weren't just survivors. They were witnesses, warriors, warning signs for others. She took a deep breath and stepped forward to the podium. The mic hissed softly as she spoke. My name is Isioma Ada. I was promised a better life. Instead, I was given chains wrapped in luxury. But I escaped. We all did. And today we speak, so no girl has to walk blindly into that trap again. This isn't just our story, it's a warning. Ask questions. Trust your gut. And remember, not all that glitters is gold. Sometimes it's a cage. The applause was loud. Some in the crowd stood. Reporters scribbled. Lenses flashed. But Isioma didn't care for the spotlight. What mattered was what came next. Purpose. As the girls walked back into the building, someone stopped Isioma. It was a young woman, maybe 18, with anxious eyes and trembling hands. She held out a card. I almost joined the same agency, she whispered. But then I saw your story. You saved me. Isioma smiled, her voice gentle. Then save someone else. As she walked away, the clouds parted. The sun poured through the trees, and for the first time in a long while, Isioma felt the warmth not as an illusion, but as a promise. She was no longer a victim. She was the voice that turned gold-plated lies into iron truths. She was free.